Buenos dias, ¿cómo está? This is Kai Pacha with the weekly Paleo report. This one is for April 15th of 2014. Still reeling from the lunar eclipse that happened earlier this morning. And then the moon has now gone into Scorpio. And I have to just squeeze this in. It's another backyard Paleo report. I can't get away from the action line here. There's a lot of action going on, I'm sure, for you, for everybody, for the entire planet. It's a time of intense pressure and a transformation, or change within our consciousness, which percolates down into our daily reality, our daily life, our daily choices, decisions, conversations, or we could say arguments. It's a good time for practicing nonviolent communication these days because we've got Mercury opposite Mars. That's exact on Wednesday. After the moon stays in Scorpio until Thursday, then it goes into Sagittarius, and after Sag, moves into Capricorn on Saturday. Until Monday it moves into Aquarius. So we've had that full moon, and now it is disseminating, breaking away, waning. So we have this waxing moon that builds until that full moon, that lunar eclipse last night, a super full moon. And now it's kind of like, whoo. But it's not exactly an out breath. It's not exactly about relaxing completely. That does bring me to a point that I'm going to talk more. Last week I talked about the Sabian symbols. A lot of people responded very positively to that, and for the New Paradigm community, I did a whole half-hour video on the Sabian symbols and their interpretation for this Grand Cross and the eclipse season that we're in with the moon's nodes, and I think I'm going to put it up there and put it out as a, what is it, an eclipse raffle. If you want to grab that video, then I'm going to be giving away a webinar, an astrology webinar, and the mantra book for 2013 to some lucky people that want to go for it. So yeah, it's exciting. You got to play with this energy, have fun with this energy, move this energy, help this energy to flow. As the sun moves on, we still have Venus making a sandwich between Neptune and Chiron for the rest of the week. She's traversing from Neptune, infinite potential, into Chiron, healing crisis. These crises of healing, it's like, you know, the energy wells up. Our emotions well up, our memories well up, our longings, our past, our emotions, what we are missing, what we may feel ashamed of or guilty about, all things from childhood, from past lives, from past relationships. This is like this, this eclipse just really brings all of this stuff up to the surface, almost like a pimple, like a blackhead, where it's time to just like, pop it. Yeah, so it's time to pop goes the weasel. Yeah, here we go round the mulberry bush. So it's an intense time, but it's also, you know, bringing up a healing crisis is about healing. And it's about bringing awareness to that which we have maybe taken for granted, or we've been unaware of, or we have suppressed. And when we suppress things, they become shadow, and shadow gets projected, and then we have our relationships and other people pushing our buttons. So if we're not feeling all of our feelings inwardly, we can count on that life will bring us other people and relationships and partnerships that will help us to feel feelings that we are not allowing ourselves to feel. So there's really, as much as we may try to avoid, escape, or deny our needs, our true individuality, our own power, Life is going to create circumstances and conditions and situations where we need to stand and come into our own individuality, our own power, and create from that, from our core, bring forward our own unique, special gifts. Yeah, we each came in with a gift. We each came in with a special, there's a special collective need that each one of us is here to fill. Yeah? So that's the way nature works. Whenever there's a void, let's fill it with something, with somebody. Yeah? So a birth chart is really, you know, it's a map of a given need. And we are here to fulfill that need. So your purpose or your soul destiny, you know, when I do chart readings and things, I talk about, you know, why people are here. Well, we are here to fill a collective need. And it's in the chart right there. And every moment, there's a new need. Because life is continually evolving. And human consciousness is continually evolving and expanding. So we're in this time now, we're in this season, and we want to look at the seasons. We want to look at this full moon, but not only the full moon. Because now we're coming into this grand cross. And this grand cross, which is happening really next week, it's really on Sunday, Jupiter moves into square Uranus. Yes? And then on Monday, Uranus is an exact square to Pluto. And then Tuesday, you know, Mars comes into square Jupiter exactly. And on Wednesday, Mars opposes Uranus and squares Pluto exactly. So it's, you know, it's this whole thing going on next Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But we're all feeling it now. We're going to feel it for the rest of the week. And it's just, you know, amazing that it coincides. It's like a sandwich between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. We have this grand cross. Wow. The whole month of April is this, you know, and into May. It's not just over with the solar eclipse on April 29th. No, this is going to spill over for months to come. Actually, for another year. Because, why? Even this grand cross is really a culmination point of this Uranus square Pluto, which is the exact and has been going on since the summer of 2012, and it's going to continue for 7 exact squares until March of 2015 is the final one next year. So we have another year. And if we really look at this, you know, this is a time, and I said that, you know, the conjunction of Uranus-Pluto was in the 60s, 65 and 66, and that was the seed, the beginning of a new era, of a new consciousness, of a new paradigm. Those were the seed people, yeah? And that new consciousness was seeded by those people that lived at that time and had babies at that time, and the kids now that were born at that time are now, yeah? So now this square comes in, yeah? This square comes in, and it's interesting. If we look at the whole cycle, there's the seed, springtime, and that seed grows and expands, and at the first square, which is where we are now with Uranus-Pluto, it's a crisis in action, a crisis of manifestation, a crisis of that seed needing to burst forth, open up, and break through the crust of the earth and become a plant. That's the, you know, it's the summer solstice. It's this, you know, it's the time to break out. And then after that, now we've just come into this full moon phase. Yeah, that is like the big time. Yeah, that's where the blossoms come and the fruit comes. And shortly after that full moon then is the harvest. You know, if we look at the yearly season. Not full moon, but so much as, you know, the fall equinox. And then, yeah, the fruit falls. The seeds sprinkle down, go into the ground. And we come into that third quarter square. And we go into winter time. And the seeds go into hibernation. So there's this out-breath, and that out-breath is the beginning, the advent, the expansion of the life force into that full moon, the flower, the blossom. Look at these flowers, these beautiful blossoms. Yeah. And then there is the taking over of the dark, of the death force. So there's this eternal dance that goes on, the wheel of fortune in the tarot, between life and death. Life comes to fruition, grandiose, and then the seed dies, and the death force takes over. And we can see this going on in all of nature. Yeah? So there is this time when you could call it a battle between life and death. Yeah? Life is always needing to be strong and fill itself. Yeah? I think of a tree. That tree grows, it draws up the sap, and it draws up the minerals, and it draws up and expands, and it flowers, and it blossoms, and it throws out its seeds, and it lives. Some of them live for hundreds of years. But at some point, there is that life force begins to wane. Old age sets in. And the moss, and the bacteria, and the parasites, and everything comes. Yeah? And that dead tree, yeah, that tree dies and falls over and gets consumed and gets eaten. We can also see this in the animal world. Just watch, yeah, a set of lions out there on the Serengeti plains, yeah, chasing the antelope. It's the old, weak, tired antelope that that fall behind the rest of the pack. And so there's always like this death waiting for us. And we can really feel this time now. We feel kind of called. We're feeling this pressure. Because collectively, we are at this point of the Uranus coming to square Pluto. This is the time where we need to be the strongest, where we need to stand the firmest, where we need to step into our individual truth and become our own authorities. This is the season of that Uranus-Pluto cycle, which is much greater than 1 year. Yeah, this is a 160-year cycle that we are in this. So we are now in the process. We're in the point. Yeah, it's like the summer solstice point, where the seed that was sown in the 60s now needs to break through. We need, with our consciousness, human consciousness, our planetary consciousness, we are birthing planetary consciousness. We are birthing a new paradigm. This is a time to be strong. This is this Mars in Libra with Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter opposing Pluto, the system, the establishment, the old paradigm, the patriarchy. Mars in Libra opposing Uranus, saying that each one of us needs to stand firm and speak our truth as pleasantly as possible, and that may not always be possible because Mars is Mars. And when it squares Jupiter, it's like really big, and when it squares Pluto, it's facing big heavy egos, and when it's opposite Uranus, it wants its own frickin' way, baby. So you see, this is what we're all facing now. It's a time, and the beautiful, powerful thing that I go into in that video on the Sabian symbols, the north node of the moon, from the middle of March to the end of May, the true node of the moon stays 75 days at 1 degree. After that, it's 5 days, 10 days, maybe 20 days in these other degrees, but it's almost stationing at the 27th degree of Libra, which is an airplane sails high in a clear sky. That's the symbol of the north node of the moon for this whole time period. The keynote or the keyword that Dane Rudhyar associates with that picture is something about, a transcendent consciousness that is not drawn into or affected by the pressures or the conflicts of the personal life. So part of this is, it's almost like the more that we are attached to our spirit, to our infinite, multi-lifetime, multi-dimensional, non-egoic, non-invested, non-fearful self, spirit self, the less we will be affected, drawn in by, beat up by, hurt by, wounded by, yeah, attached to outcomes or goals that's going on down here in this third dimension. So it's almost like, you know, this is a way of like, you know, squeezing that kundalini up to the higher chakras so that we're not as deeply, yeah, attacked, we could say, or, you know, defensive or overreactive or, you know, really hurt. This can be a real time of healing as we contact our expanded spirit self out of necessity for not getting chewed up or eaten or killed by the lower dark death forces that are very prevalent at the time of the eclipse. My old friend Buzz Myers, he's on the other side now. He passed away a long time ago, but he really looked at these eclipses as being chaotic times where the auric shield of the earth is broken and chaos enters in. There's a new chaotic element that we need to become familiar with or integrate during these time of the eclipse season. So get in touch with that alien aspect within yourself and get in touch with your genius, with your unique individuality, and express it. Which brings me to the mantra for the week. Yeah? The eternal dance between life and death calls me to stand my ground, create, expand, and express myself, or give up and be taken down. You know, it's like we're, you know, the wheel is always turning. We're either getting bigger and stronger and individualized and expressive and creative, which is what we're being called to do now, or we are waning, sleeping, falling, getting taken down. And so this is a time where we can feel tested. We're getting tested. We're getting pressured. We're getting pushed by life. Actually pushed by death to become more alive. The eternal dance between life and death calls me to stand my ground, create, expand, and express myself, or give up and be taken down. May you stand up and not give up and not be taken down. Namaste. Aloha. So much love.